with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Mohamed Aldaghma, who will give us an update on his family, who you folks helped escape Gaza. Part of his family is still there, and he's got some reports from what's happening in and around Rafah. Also, later on the program, David Dayen will be here on Biden's announcement of massive tariffs on Chinese EVs, as well as new moves on the electrical grid line. Meanwhile, near 400,000 Palestinians have fled Rafah as food and water runs out. 100,000 have again been driven out by Israeli military in the north. In the U.S., top officials say Israel's definition of victory not going to happen. Following an Israeli killing of UN staff, American doctors now trapped in the European hospital on the outskirts of Rafah. In this country, it's primary day in West Virginia and Maryland, and the Louisiana Republican Party continues to block abortion exception for child rape victims. Michael Cohen testifies again today in the Trump criminal trial, this time that Trump intimately involved in the hush money scheme.
He also said it wasn't about Melania, it was about the campaign.
Well, I mean, true. New poll finds support for Bidenomics waning as Team Biden believes polls are just wrong. Department of Justice seeks Steve Bannon prison time for contempt of Congress. And raw milk enthusiasts are trying to infect themselves with the bird flu in a quite ill-advised attempt at achieving immunity. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. It is
Newsday Tuesday.
Newsday Tuesday. We're breaking format a little bit, I guess, by having two guests. Well, David Dayen said that he was going to be in town, in studio, and then I spoke to him yesterday. He's like, actually, I'm like in New Jersey. Can we do it by video? And I'm like, well,
What was the point?
I mean, I'm happy to always talk to David Dayen, but like,
Bit of a flake.
I mean, we could do that video from California and nobody knows the difference.
Well, his landline might not be going off. That's how we would be able to tell.
Yep. We got a lot of IMs already, and the answer is yes to all of them. But we'll get to that later. I don't know, people are asking, like, have you checked in on Birds Aren't Real?
Oh.
Which I have, actually.
Have?
I've been noticing what's going on with that. It seems to have given up the ghost. And yes, I have seen the Bill Burr thing, and we will talk about that.
Yes. We'll have some fun
all the other
with that.
stuff. We'll talk maybe a little bit about this story that the Biden campaign is looking at the polls and is convinced that I guess that the polls are just wrong. if you look at the Real Clear politics average, Trump is up 1 nationally. But there is clearly a trend that Biden is doing quite poorly in the swing states of Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, a little bit better in Wisconsin. Well, certainly better in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. And, different people have different theories about that. Who knows? But we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that later. One of the things even in this, I think the New York Times poll that was in there, was that about 65% of the country does not believe that Donald Trump will be convicted of any of the cases that he's facing. And, if you were to wake me up at 3 a.m, which is usually when I wake up now, and ask me if he would be convicted, I would say no. It is not a function of the cases against him. It's a function of in many respects, the system that we have. And
those poll numbers are probably reflective of that as well, where people don't really feel like the justice system works in the way that it should for the wealthy and powerful. That's kind of a widespread sentiment in this country, and they're right.
I would suspect. But, there's a real chance he's going to get convicted in this hush money case. And he is doing his best to push back, at least publicly, on what's going in these cases. But the problem is that he's not allowed to talk about it anymore because he was attacking the judge and attacking the judge's family and saying things about the jury and the attorneys. And
maybe he should have kept his powder dry a little bit.
He should have kept his powder dry. But don't worry. They have gotten some surrogates to the rescue. Here is the dumbest man, maybe ever, to serve in the U.S. Senate, but certainly currently serving in the U.S. Senate. And I just want to, before we reveal who that is, just want to say, special shout out to Ron Johnson. He certainly gets the consolation prize. I mean, and for a while, he was the stupidest man in the Senate. But I give you Tommy Tuberville.
First of all, I'm disappointed in the courtroom. I'm hearing Mr. Trump. He is former President Trump. Give him some respect. I mean, that's what that place is in there. It's no respect. Here's what I'm seeing, too. It is depressing. That courtroom is depressing.
Pause it for a second.
This is New York City.
Okay, so he's upset that the courtroom is depressing. And you know what it's going on? You know what that place is? No respect. No respect central, apparently. And he wants them to address Donald Trump as Mr. Former President Trump.
I'm just jealous Republicans get to talk about the justice system like this.
Yeah, it's great. No respect. What's also is amazing is like anybody who's had any involvement in the criminal justice system, like the idea that
you get any respect?
Yeah,
they treat you like crap. That's notoriously dehumanizing.
But he is in New York, and he probably went to Dangerfields over the weekend.
Here we go. All right, go back just a little bit.
He is former President Trump. Give him some respect. I mean, that's what that place is in there. It's no respect. Here's what I'm seeing, too. It is depressing. That courtroom is depressing. This is New York City, the icon of our country. And we got a courtroom that's the most depressing thing I've ever been in. Mental anguish is trying to be pushed on the Republican candidate for the President of the United States this year. That's all this is. He's been here a month. I am disappointed in looking at the supposedly American citizens in that courtroom, that the DA comes in and he acts like.
All right, pause it for a second. So I just want to catch everybody up with what's going on. One, the color palette in the courtroom apparently is not to Tommy Tuberville's liking. It's New York. It's the icon of the country. How about sprucing it up a little bit in there? Maybe some neon lights. maybe a disco ball.
When you said
maybe,
color palette, I thought you meant something else.
Well,
Basically, the constitution of the people. Or
Yeah.
racial
then
makeup.
Tommy Tuberville says supposed to be American citizens, supposed American citizens in there. Well, I think then he's starting to really get into a more robust critique of the color palette inside the courtroom, and I'm not talking about the paint.
You know, what'd be funny is to take him around Rikers and tell him Trump was being held there and see what he says.
Oh
about
my
it.
God! Right, that's how we can finally get criminal justice reform.
All right, just go back a little bit. This guy is just, Tommy, maybe let's not do you this today. We're going to do somebody different.
It's my marble.
Candidate for the President of the United States this year. That's all this is. He's been here a month. He's been here a month. I am disappointed in looking at the Americans, supposedly American citizens in that courtroom, that the DA comes in and he acts like it is his Super Bowl. And I guess it is, to be noticed. But that's what's happening in this country. The Republican candidate for President of the United States is going through mental anguish in a courtroom that's very depressing. Very depressing. I'm glad to stand by President Trump. I'm a friend of his. I'm here more as a friend than backing him as candidate as president.
Interior designer.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
The mental anguish. Or he's like his life coach. He's just coming around to say, hey, man, I know times are tough, and I know the color palette's not to your liking. It's super chilly in the courtroom as well.
Also,
but
why didn't you say
you'll
anything
get
about
through
the
this.
AC being too low?
I don't want to hear about snowflakes and soft liberal college students from conservatives ever again. Ever again. Because this is what constitutes mental anguish for this full-grown adult. The color palette and the temperature in the room.
They had pictures of Joe Biden on the wall.
I want you to think about, for a moment, and get that other tweet ready. I want you to think about what state of mind you'd be in if you were in mental anguish.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were being like, going through ongoing anguish. Like, what would your physical demeanor be? You would be uptight.
Tense,
you would
anxious,
be tense,
yes.
anxious. You'd be revved up, right? And someone should have told Trump's other surrogate for the day. It was Tommy Tuberville, and then the other one was J.D. Vance. You remember J.D. Vance, who, if I remember correctly, was basically saying that Donald Trump was Satan. I mean,
no, America's Hitler, he said in leaked private messages to a friend.
It's like when you draft scouting for the NBA drafts. Like, this guy has Hitler potential is sort of what
well, America's Hitler's good. I just wanted to say, like, Hitler bad.
Too German,
America
mustache.
Hitler good. That's the American part. Here's J.D. Vance, who was on Team Surrogate and apparently did not get on the same page as Tommy Tuberville, because where Tuberville said, like, this is ongoing mental anguish, J.D. Vance said, I saw a media report a few days ago that Trump looked like he was falling asleep or bored or something. The obvious narrative they're trying to sell is, yeah, Biden's mentally unfit, but this other guy's bad too. It's an absurd narrative. I'm 39 years old and I've been here for 26 minutes and I'm about to fall asleep. Now, how this guy is able to fall asleep when Donald Trump is there being forced into mental anguish.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get on the same page.
That's what I'm saying, though. Again, sometimes people have different stress responses. He responds to the
So
mental
narcolepsy?
anguish with narcolepsy. Everybody knows that. I mean,
It's true.
yeah.
It's the trial of the century. Wake up, JD.
They also, if he gets convicted on this front, they're just going to appeal, right? That's a big part of it as well. They'll probably appeal and they'll say that it doesn't constitute election interference. It was just a way to cook the books internally, whatever the case may be.
I mean, fraud is fraud. I mean, you're not supposed to say that this is a business expense when in fact you're actually just paying him off for a personal expense that he fronted for you.
I agree, but that's going to be the case that they make, that this is not an election interference law. It's just normal rich guy doing stuff. But once again, he's not persecuted by the justice system in that instance. He's actually getting extremely preferential treatment, including not getting locked up for repeatedly violating his gag order. If he was in such mental anguish, do you think he'd be a little bit more careful to avoid the consequences of just constantly harassing this judge's family?
Emma, the court is depressing. Have you seen the color palette? There's nothing gold.
No gold.
No gold.
His surrogate
Zero
literally called the
gold.
jury illegals.
Yeah.
Yes. Supposed American citizens in there. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Mohamed Aldaghma and then later David Dayen. Clever leftist meme on the IM says, reminded to everyone with Amazon Prime, use your monthly free Twitch subscription to support the Majority Report. Send them your Bezos bucks. Yes.
Please
we will
do.
take that Jeff Bezos, that money earmarked for him, send it to us on Twitch, Poggers. First, a couple of words from our sponsor.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Now's the time, folks. You still have time. Great time. Plant some trees, plant some bushes, get some plants for inside your house. And where would you get those? Well, get them where I've been getting them for literally for years and years. Fast Growing Trees. It's the biggest online nursery in the U.S., has more than 10,000 different kinds of plants and over 2 million happy customers in the U.S. I am one of those customers. I was before we even started advertising for these guys. They got everything you could possibly want. They got fruit trees. They got evergreens. If you're living in a warmer zone, palm trees. They got house plants. They got so much more. You want to have a lemon tree? Doesn't matter where you live. You can actually have a lemon tree in your home. You can have an avocado tree in your home. You can have a fig tree in your home. There's also some cold hardy fig varieties that if you really cut back, you can handle in zone 5, like I do. But the point is, Fast Growing Trees makes it easy for you to order it online. Your plants are shipped directly to you, to your door within 1 or 2 days. And bigger plants. They're trees. You can get up to like 5 or 6 year old trees. Put them in the ground. You'll have fruit from those trees next year. So you don't have to go to that big box store. You don't have to go to the nursery. You don't have to shove it in the back of your Subaru, break it off, bring it home, have it damaged. Then it's susceptible to disease, et cetera, et cetera. Fast Growing Trees has so many different options. And like I say, their trees don't necessarily grow faster. It's just that they're bigger and they get established quicker because they're older. That's the whole key to Fast Growing Trees. But also, they have people who are available 24/7 to provide you advice on what should I grow in my backyard? What should I grow in my house? How do I design my landscape? How do I take care of these plants? Everything else you need. No green thumb is required. This spring, they have the best deals online, up to half on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get an additional 15% off their first purchase when using the code MAJORITY at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code MAJORITY at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com. Code is MAJORITY. Offers valid for only a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Also, another sponsor of the program today is really, in many respects, taken over a huge part of my wardrobe. In my, I have a life off camera.
Yes.
More often than not, if I'm trying to dress well, I'm doing it with Roan. They have something called the Commuter Collection. I mean, you've seen me wear this stuff.
Yes.
They have button-down shirts. Well, they have dress shirts. They have zips, one-quarter zips. They have polos. They have super comfortable pants. But the beauty about the shirts and the pants too, for that matter, and I suppose the zips and the polos, but I have the button-down shirts and the pants, is they look like your typical sort of dress pants, but they have a 4-way stretch fabric that provides both breathability and flexibility, and no iron necessary.
Right.
And they have something they call Gold Fusion, has anti-odor technology. So you can wear these shirts multiple times in a day. I mean, in a week rather, or you can wear it throughout the day. I've worn these shirts to, unfortunately, it was a wake, but all the way through the day into a meeting, into then like a nice dinner.
It was very nice. Looked crisp, and also I would imagine it's perfect for traveling too.
Very good for traveling. And I have now a full Roan Commuter Collection suit. I took the jacket and the pants, wear them together. Super easy to pack and pull out of the suitcase and have it look great. It's Roan is 100% machine washable. You can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. The Commuter Collection can get you through any work day, straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/majority report. Use the promo code majority report to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to Roan, RHONE.com/majority report. Use the code majority report. It is time to find your corner office comfort. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we can go right into the phone. Okay, yes. All right, let's bring him on. He's calling in by phone from Belgium, having returned recently from Egypt. Mohamed,
hello.
Are you there? Welcome back to the program, Mohamed.
Hello. How are you, Sam? How are you, everybody? You hear me?
Yes, doing great. Thanks for calling. I'm here with Emma Vigland, who I think you spoke to last time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to your show. Thank you so much.
Hi, Mohamed. Good to hear from you.
Hi, Emma. Thank you.
Okay, so Mohamed, we got a couple of questions for you. First off, we want to know how Afaf and your family is doing in Egypt. Just to remind people, I guess it was about a month or so ago, maybe a little bit more. We helped. We had you on. We had talked about the GoFundMe you had set up for your family, who were at that time the majority of them were in Rafah, and some were able to get out to Egypt. How is everybody doing there?
My family is grateful to be safe in Egypt. There are no words to thank you, Sam and Emma, and Majority Report listeners. It's so hard for regular Gazan to escape, from Gaza. We are not famous or wealthy people. My family would not have survived without the continuous support from you guys. Thank you for caring about us and helping us. They now have food and safe place to sleep. The children are able to sleep at night. I just got back from Egypt, where I was trying to help evacuate the rest of the family. It was the first time I was able to hug my family in 5 years. Afaf, my niece, who has Down syndrome, needs medical care now. She's losing a lot of weight and having a serious stomach problem. She needs treatment and maybe surgery. It's going to be very hard for my family to start all over again, building a new life in Egypt, which is why we are still fundraising to support Afaf medical expenses. The family stuck in Gaza and family starting over in Egypt. So they are fine.
Yeah, I'm Mohamed. Can you speak a bit about the family members that are still stuck in Gaza and what's their status?
Yeah, my father and my 21 years old brother Khadr, my 20 years old sister Rina, and my aunt Ibtisam, they fled Rafah when Israel threatened to attack, and now they are in Khan Yunis. They are scared in Khan Yunis. I'm scared for them also. It will be harder for me to give them money also to buy food and supplies there, because now everything is closed. The border is closed.
Do you have a sense and we have one clip here of, I think, a brief video of where they are near Khan Yunis. It's just a couple of seconds long, but people can get a sense of where they're living now. Here, play this clip. Go ahead, play this clip for 1 second.
Yeah.
It's more or less a makeshift tent with some what look like UNICEF tarps. Do you know? I mean, how often are you in touch with your brother and your father outside of Khan Yunis?
It's really difficult to reach them because there is no connection in Khan Yunis. There is no internet. I'm trying since the border closed, I just reached them one time, talking to them. There is no internet there, and it's very hard to use SIM card, to get internet in a specific place in next to the sea, because they are close to the sea in the street now in Khan Yunis. And in Khan Yunis, the whole Khan Yunis is destroyed. There is no connection like Rafah. And it's hard to reach them or to contact any one of them.
And how did they get up to Khan Yunis? Because I know that they were in Rafah, but there's been, I guess, about almost 400,000 people who have had to flee Rafah. How did they get to Khan Yunis? Are they walking? Is there any fuel?
My family received the paper from the dropped on their camp in Rafah, and the message said to leave, but no one know where to leave. It's not a clear message to leave to save a place. There is no safe place to go, and they are trying to pay someone with a cart and a donkey to help them to move from Rafah and their things to Khan Yunis.
So they went by donkey and cart.
Yeah, donkey and cart.
And what do you have a sense of when was the last time that you had contacted them? I guess that was when they were heading out from Rafah, or do you have a sense of what their water situation is, what their food situation is? I mean, it's one thing to be able to to pay for a donkey and a cart, but if there's no food or water getting in, what are they doing for that?
Yeah, it's very terrible. It's been 7 days since the border was closed. There is no water where they are now in Khan Yunis. Everything is destroyed in Khan Yunis. There are no shops to buy anything. They don't know where they will get more food. Everyone is pretty sick, even my father, my brother, but there are doctors and nurses in the camp, and my father was able to get an IV treatment. Everything is expensive, they can still, some people have water from the Eid, and they try to sell it for people to get something for food, to buy food or something else. And they have to buy water from anyone. He get more Eid to use it for drink or clean themselves, or from the water sea.
From seawater, you're saying?
From the seawater, yeah.
Are people drinking seawater? Is that what you're hearing?
No, just for to clean themselves, but they can still receive water from the Eid, before the border closed.
Okay.
And give me a sense of what are people what are people's perspective on the different roles of what's going on there? I mean, from a perspective of what's happening from America. I mean, is there a sense amongst your family members? Do they have opinions about what America's role is in this? What Biden's role is in this?
Actually, my family members, they don't have a lot of about political or news. They don't really follow it. But a lot of Gazan people, they know they are getting killed by American weapons, and they know that American has blocked many ceasefire votes. Everyone doesn't like what Biden did. He does a lot of evil things to Palestinian. He doesn't see us like humans, and he's okay with us dying. Gaza now that there are a lot of American trying to stop this genocide, and they know that there's a lot of people from America supporting them and standing with them for their rights.
The student the student protests, Mohammed. What's your message, or what? Do they have any message for those student protesters?
Actually, the student protesters have given some people a new hope to know that they have not been forgotten after 8 months of this genocide. It's make them feel like their lives is matter. But people are very, very tired with closed borders. It's become much more dangerous, because no eyes coming in, and they cannot get any food or any stuff to eat, and everything is dangerous, no safe place. But we really appreciate what the students doing from protesters and supporting Palestine and trying to speak out for our freedom and to make ceasefire to stop this killing and to end this genocide.
Is it your sense that your family living in Gaza, do they have some type of vision for what happens next, or is it just simply they just want to not be attacked and bombs falling?
In Gaza, no one know what's gonna happen. Everyone is just wondering when you will die. If you just wake up in the next day, you thanks God you are still alive, because nowhere is safe to go. Everyone is scared from getting killed or from the bombs, from the airstrike. No one know about the situation. It's gonna be ceasefire or it's gonna end soon or not.
And Mohammed, are you in touch with anyone else in Gaza, in a different part of Gaza, anywhere? Have you heard word about anything that's happening in the north?
In the north, actually, I don't have contact with people there because it's also hard to get internet there, just like the famous people to try to make videos about what's going on, and you cannot reach them. But I have still another family, my cousin, everyone is still in Rafah and Khan Yunis also. I have big members, family, like my cousin, my niece, and other families, and I have still contact with them. I try sometimes, if I don't reach my father or my brother or sister, I call someone in Rafah and try to let him call them in Khan Yunis to tell me how is situation with them, they are fine or not, what's going on.
What is the latest you've heard from Rafah?
The Rafah, it's every day bombing, every day the tanks coming close to the area with the public area next to the civilians people. And the Rafah borders, it's completely controlled by the IDF. No one can go close to the Rafah borders. And people trying, even the people from Rafah trying to move to go to the north to Khan Yunis.
And you mentioned Afaf, your niece, needing surgery. Can potentially, or her having some health issues. Can you speak about what else your family needs in this very horrible time?
But also my mother, she's sick and she gets problem in her back.
Sorry,
yeah.
go on.
Also, my mother is sick, and she need also she has surgery for her back. I cannot tell you exactly what that mean and what problem she has, but I have the report from the doctor. I can share it with you later.
Okay. Well, Mohammed, is there anything else that you think that we should know at this point? I mean, we're gonna. I think we're gonna play the video that you forwarded us from your mother and Afaf and the rest who are in Egypt, just to show people. But is there anything else that you think we should know at this point?
I want to thank everyone to support us and standing with us, and we are grateful to have you and support us and standing with us in this difficult time to make us like feeling safe and try to save my family. Thank you so much from deep of my heart for you and for Ima, for everyone, Majority Reports listener, for everyone who's donate for my family. We really appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing with us, Mohammed, and
Thank you.
you know, obviously, really heartbroken that you're all going through this. But thanks for giving us an update.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mohammed.
All right, let's play this this video. It just came in this morning. This is from Egypt. I don't know. I think it's in the past day or two. But this is Mohammed's family. That's his mother and his niece Afaf, and I'm not sure of the others, but their names. But this is their video, and we have it subtitled.
شكرا لدعمكم وتبرعكم منا بكتر ألف خيركم. احنا بفضلكم موجودين حاليا متواجدين في مصر، انا واطفالي الاربعه وزوجي وامي واخويا. مع الاسف اخي خضر وابي واختي رينا ومرت ابي ابتسام لم تتواجد معنا بسبب تاخر كشوفات شركه خلا، وبسبب اليهود اجتاحوا المعبر ولم يأتوا. وحاليا هم موجودين 4 أفراد موجودين في رفح. ما بنسى فرحة فوفا اللي هي عفاف وابني حسن، فرحتهم بجمعتهم بابوهم. بشكركم من أعماق قلبي، وإن شاء الله فرحة تكمل بوجود بابا وأخويا خضر وأختي رينا ومرت بابا ابتسام. إن شاء الله الله يجمعنا على خير. ونتمنى منكم بس طلب واحد صغير، إن أنتم تضلوا داعميننا معطينا طاقة إنه إحنا نكون حياة جميلة ونعيش مستقبل أفضل من اللي إحنا فيه. شكرا لكم كثير.
بشكركم شكر جزيل الشكر والاحترام لكم على طلعتنا وجايتنا من غزة على مصر. احنا موجودين هكذا في مصر، فيكم يا رب بميزان حسناتكم وعلى راسي وألف بعيد. وبكرر بقول شكرا لكم فردا فردا.
شكرا خليكم معنا دونا ألف بحبكم.
That's great. Cute kids.
Yes.
Folks, we're going to put the link to the GoFundMe in the podcast and YouTube descriptions and at majority.fm. There are some things that we can't really ask or talk to Mohammed about because there's precariousness on both sides of that border. That I think it doesn't take a lot of imagination necessarily to figure out.
Right.
And so, the last thing we want to do is create more potential danger on either side, frankly. So there are some questions that, were Mohammed a correspondent on some level, I would ask, and that both in terms of like what's happening internally in Gaza and also like what it takes to get across the border and what's happening in Egypt.
Yep.
But
what happens to the people who aren't counted as casualties? they have stomach problems and things like that after being marched around and
starved. I mean, the health effects of starvation and dehydration at this magnitude, it can't be overstated. It will be with these people for the rest of their lives, for the most part.
Isn't really stated. Isn't really part of like CNN or Morning Joe.
No.
They'll just, do arithmetic, try to get the numbers down.
Let alone just the trauma of having to leave the home that you knew your whole life. That's just essentially taken for granted. It's called voluntary migration. It's called displacement. But like when you talk and speak about like a human family, a whole family uprooted from where they grew up, that's traumatizing in and of itself.
Yeah, so you can continue to help their family. We'll keep that GoFundMe link up in the description for the next couple of days. Anything you can spare, obviously, they're going to greatly appreciate. And hopefully there'll be an opportunity soon to reunite the family. In the meantime, Afaf in particular, I think, has some fairly pressing medical needs that are, Down syndrome can creates different sort of baseline challenges for health,
right?
And particularly exacerbated, obviously, not just by the stress, but the actual sort of like deprivation. So anything you can do is appreciated, obviously. Speaking of which, too, and we should just say, we're going to take a break in a second. David Dayen's going to come in. He's going to finish off the free half of the show, and then we'll have him in the fun half for as long as he's around. I know he's very busy.
Such a busy man.
But just want to make sure that people hear this. There was a story that was misinterpreted, apparently, either willfully or accidentally, when the UN said they could not confirm the death count. They have the numbers and they have the names, but only about somewhere between half and 2/3 of the bodies of dead Palestinians have been recovered. It is absurd to imagine that under these circumstances, I mean, frankly, I'm almost shocked that there's that level of recovery. It is absurd to imagine that all these bodies would be accounted for at this point. And
I would just say, I'd listened to Democracy Now! This morning. They had a correspondent in Gaza saying that Israel is attacking machinery you would use to lift bodies, or lift rubble up and clear rubble and save people that are trapped under rubble.
I mean, it's not, I mean, it's so like blatantly obvious. And here's, for instance, Joe Scarborough, just full on. Did he put a...
This is genocide denial, by the way.
Did he put a correction?
UN halves estimate of women and children killed in Gaza.
This is just simply not true.
Not true. It's just the identifiable body.
In fact, the UN had subsequently put out another statement to make it clear this was not true. So I don't know if Joe Scarborough fixed it. I doubt he did.
But neither did Twitter, which is also notable.
Well, of course.
But they have that
community notes
feature that is pretty regularly had been on all this stuff, and it's just been...
You could see all the people in his comments saying, like, why are you still having this posted?
It's an undercount.
Because it's doing work.
We know it's a massive undercount. So to put this out there, it's genocide denial. It should be treated with the exact same derision that Holocaust deniers are dealt with. Just because it's happening in the present doesn't mean that you should excuse it to that degree. It's actually worse, because what we're supposed to have learned from the Holocaust and genocides of the past is that we are supposed to be preventing it, never again for anybody. And so that kind of historical knowledge is the time where it's supposed to be actionable is when the act of genocide is happening, so you can prevent it. So this should be treated in the exact same way. genocide denialist Joe Scarborough, the host of the President of the United States' favorite program.
Noah from Tampa has a good a message as well. I lost my mind when the news came out as if half of 15,000 isn't still an effing genocide. And of course, I mean, the idea that he doesn't even take any pause before he does that, because if you look at the Israeli numbers of how many Hamas military they were killed, then we were almost to believe that there's virtually no civilian casualties in terms of what they claim. Now, of course, they have been counting every male that they have killed as a de facto Hamas member. When the numbers that they were tossing around prior to October 7th was that Hamas had a fighting force of somewhere between 30 and 40,000 people out of the 2.2 million people there. I mean,
they're biding time. They're biding time to starve more people, to have them die of more dehydration.
That's what this whole thing is. And that's why he left it up, because that helps bide time. It's a product.
When they say there's no stated military objectives, of course there's not. At this point, it's just like, let's kill as many as we can. And I know that, we've talked maybe off air, like, would it matter if the death toll gets to a certain X amount? Like, for the political realities of the ground, would that change people's minds? I'm not sure it would, but I do think that there's a deliberate strategy on behalf of the IDF and the Israeli government to do as much damage to human life as humanly possible before that true figure is revealed.
I think without a doubt.
And Joe Scarborough did the great job of doing that for them, by the way. Thank you for that.
And again, just to reiterate, now we have U.S. officials now who are echoing what we've seen in the Israeli press over the past couple of days, that both the head of the Shin Bet and the defense minister and a couple of the top generals in the Israeli military have basically complained to Netanyahu that there's no plan, that essentially their job is to just keep going around in a perpetual killing machine with no end game, as it were, to this. And now you're starting to see, this is in Politico, Israel's total victory in Gaza is unlikely. This, according to top U.S. officials. Anthony Blinken said this in January. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in December this goal of supposedly killing all Hamas was not possible.
Yeah, I mean, I saw David Petraeus talk. I mean, the Rafah invasion is obviously we object to it just because it's more ethnic cleansing and genocide. But from a military standpoint, it is not counterinsurgency like David Petraeus was talking about, where you hold something and make sure they don't go back, because they're having to go back up north and chase them around some more.
Yes, because that is the agenda. The political agenda is to destroy everything, and the military agenda is to just do what the political agenda is. And so they keep going around. Apparently, the Israeli military is just sort of basically freelancing now, because they have there is no end game. So the idea of holding an area and keeping Hamas out supposedly is just not part of it, because their job is just to wreak as much destruction and havoc as possible. All right, we will take a break. And when we come back, we'll be talking to David Dayen. We're going to change gears a little bit and talk about some about tariffs and about our renewables on our grid, because the other thing that we have going on is that scientists are now saying that they expect us to just bust through any of the goals that have been set to in any way mitigate the damage from climate change. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. We're back.
David was just saying how unimportant we are to him in his professional and personal life.
And so all our plans, I had kept my entire social calendar clear this week to go.
I'm going to make a special trip for Cold Stone.
Have a drink with David Dayen, the executive editor of the American Prospect. But apparently, it needs to be some other podcasts going on in Brooklyn to get some time.
What I said. That is not what I said. I'm always happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. It has definitely a different feel to be talking to you in East Coast time with both of us on the East Coast. We should just be clear that David is still miles away from here,
right?
So that's why he couldn't. He couldn't.
Like 8 or 9, but yeah,
we put him up in that hotel too. And
can I complain about the water pressure really briefly?
I thought we had mentioned that we're working on that, but that is the other.
I don't know.
Staying at
this
the
majority station.
The majority report
nothing in here, man.
I mean, it's just offensive.
Majority report
I asked for red M&M.
Yeah. Well, we already got stood up basically by Hassan earlier this week, who was also in New York and then didn't take the time to come see us.
He texted me
Look, I'm
a
just
couple of
following
times
in
and
the
then just
footsteps
disappeared.
of successful people. In
Yeah,
other
there you
right.
go. That's actually that's the key. Actually, you should start your Twitch stream right now. Actually, because the next step is
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for more.
800,000, or 8 million subscribers or something like that. But
So you're
so
saying
David,
you are okay with him blowing you off because he's important?
no, I'm saying that seems to be like a formula for success. Once you blow us off, and then you get, I think you get more subscribers.
We're
that way.
kingmakers over here.
Let's hope.
Folks, and folks, you can also catch the weekly roundup on the American Prospects YouTube channel, best viewed after the fact on Fridays, but at any time it can also work. All right, but speaking of the American Prospect, you have a piece on the front page today about the tariffs that the Biden administration announced today. It's quadrupling the tariffs to 100% on electric vehicles exported from China. There's a trade-off here, and walk us through what. Well, first off, how is this different from what Trump did in terms of China, and then walk us through the sort of the various trade-offs associated with doing this.
So Trump in 2018 put together what is called a Section 301 investigation. And that investigation is intended to look at everything, in this case, to look at the Chinese economy, what it is actually doing in terms of its exports. Is it subsidizing its exports? Is it taking technology from U.S. companies to forward those exports, to move them along? Is it stealing intellectual property, et cetera? And then to come up with relevant remedies for those activities.
Does that Section 301 also take into account the licensing deals that his daughter's getting at any time, or is that a separate thing?
Well, this was an unfinished report.
Okay.
Obviously, it was 2018. We're 6 years later, right? So the Biden administration finally finished this report, which obviously took a long time, and decided to go with a targeted series of remedies. Now, it should be said that effectively no Chinese-made electric vehicles are sold or are on roads in the United States. There are a few. There's a company called Polestar. If you're out in Los Angeles, you see some Polestar vehicles sometimes, and they're actually part of a conglomerate that includes Volvo, and Volvo is considering coming out with an electric vehicle that would be essentially a Chinese-made EV. So they're probably the first folks affected by this. The much bigger electric vehicle makers in China, the biggest one being BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams. That's the biggest electric vehicle maker in the world as of the end of last year. They make no cars that are exported to the United States right now, zero. They're considering building a plant in Mexico that could maybe bring cars over. So at the moment, this is a tariff on nothing, right? Or next to nothing. But it clearly recognizes the threat. Chinese electric vehicles have been selling at a rapid pace. They've upped their electric vehicle market, almost doubling it, I believe, over the last year. And they're in a position to export those vehicles in a way that would mirror kind of the export-led dominance of the solar panel market. So and 8% solar panels are made.
Just specifically about those EVs, my understanding is significantly cheaper than the EVs that are produced in this country at this point.
Yes.
Are they in any way is essentially their capacity any different in terms of like can they go 700 miles?
They seem to be both cheaper and better. And so that begs the question, like, why are we stopping a market that could increase EV take-up among lower income folks that can't afford the electric vehicles currently on the market in the United States? That would rapidly increase decarbonization of the transportation sector, one of the biggest that you have to decarbonize if you're going to get to net zero. So why would you do this? And if you're the White House, you're sitting there and going, I just spent hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer money to create a homegrown electric vehicle industry in the United States. And what you're telling me is I shouldn't protect that investment and I should let it essentially go down into the garbage. And there are economic reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. And there are definitely political reasons why you wouldn't want to do that.
Right. So it's basically, as you say, protecting their investment in subsidizing the manufacturing of electric vehicles in this country. But the demand has not kept up with the ability for some of these companies to create cars, electric vehicles, is my understanding. Can you just talk a bit about that dynamic, why it's not catching on, even though there are some like lucrative tax credits that people could use to buy electric vehicles?
I think it's a little overblown. I think more electric vehicles were sold in 2023 than at any other year in history. It was fairly rapid growth in 2022 and 2023. There's been a mild pullback of the acceleration in 2024 thus far. It's a little weird to me that we are simultaneously saying nobody wants to buy an electric vehicle, but we definitely have to make sure that these cheap Chinese electric vehicles get into the United States. Like those things aren't logically coherent with one another. Like,
isn't the big? It seems to me the big implications of this tariff on, which is not in effect, right? I mean, it's not. There's no real. It's not going to impact any actual purchases at this moment in the States. Is that this basically signals to American car companies, I guess, and European ones and Japanese ones, that with American production, that you're going to have an open lane here, that it's worth investing because now you have an opportunity to dominate this market.
It's an open lane, but it's a lane that is not optional. So there's few things here that we should talk about. First of all, the EPA has put together tailpipe emission rules that basically say if you're an automaker selling cars in the United States, you have to go electric, or you have to get a significant amount of your fleet to be clean because you're not going to otherwise be able to qualify under those rules, which are mandates. So, you know, the analog to this is the 1980s. In the 1980s, there was this expectation that Japanese companies would take over the auto market entirely. There was a fear that they were making better cars, more efficient techniques, and they were going to overrun the U.S. market. So what happened was
that was that Michael Keaton movie, right?
Gung Ho, right?
Yes, I do.
So, I mean, what does that movie talk about? It talks about a joint venture. So we can talk about that in a second. But what the U.S. did was two things. They put together, they actually negotiated with Japan a voluntary set of import controls. So only a certain amount of vehicles could come in to the United States, Japanese vehicles. And then they encouraged Japan to create auto plants here in this country that would hire Japanese workers. That's
American workers.
American workers, I'm sorry. That is along the lines of Gung Ho, right? The other thing that was done were a lot of partnerships. The famous one is in California. It was called NUMMI. That plant was making Chevy Novas, but it was Toyota and GM working together to make that plant. And it was one of the most productive in the world. So this is kind of a replay of that, because the whole idea of the import controls was, we're going to give you room. We're going to give you breathing space. You can come up with more efficient techniques, better technologies, better cars, and then the big three will survive. At that point, it really was a big three, and they did survive. They did make better cars, but a lot of that went into SUVs and trucks and the F-150 series and things like that. This time around, the breathing space is made. It's made through not quotas, but actual tariffs to block the entry of these vehicles. And they're saying, we're going to give you that space, but also you're not going to be able to make gas guzzlers. Like, don't take this as a signal that you can do business as usual for a few years because we're blocking the entry of these cars. You can't do that under the regulations that the EPA put out. And you're not the big three anymore. You know, there's Tesla. There are, foreign automakers in the U.S. that are rapidly being unionized and accommodated within this larger kind of ecosystem that they're trying to build around electric vehicles. Volkswagen, Hyundai, Mercedes, all of these other cars. If the U.S. big three doesn't move, it doesn't matter whether these tariffs are going to stay in place. They're going to lose. They're going to lose this race because this is a transition. It's not optional. And so the fear is that the signal will be a sigh of relief and let's go back to selling the same vehicles we always have, when it shouldn't be that. It's like, no, now we have a time limited opportunity.
And do you think the car companies, the American car companies, do they understand that, or are they saying like, okay, the tariffs are going to be there. Donald Trump could come in and the tariffs are going to stay. He's not going to roll back tariffs. But maybe he comes in and he basically tells the EPA, we're going to give you an extra 10, 15 years on that.
I mean, he'll certainly do that, right? I mean, literally, big oil, he has asked for $1 billion bribe so he'll do their bidding. And these electric vehicle credits, the tax subsidy, they're all going to go away if Trump is elected. And so, there are environmentalists out there saying not letting these Chinese vehicles in is going to, increase carbon emissions and delay this transition. But if that's the price you pay for Biden being able to hold together a coalition in the Midwest, then clearly this is the more climate-friendly solution than allowing a second Trump administration. So I think that's an important thing to think about here.
And you make the point that I guess pound for pound, our energy is cleaner than China's in terms of the manufacturing process.
100%. And you can almost see this tax as a border adjustment, this tariff. Which is something that has been talked about as something to do in terms of carbon. It's an actual price on carbon. It's 100% of the vehicle. Make it cleaner. Maybe we'll come back to it. But I think there are mixed signals coming out of Detroit. There are mixed signals, and some of it sounds like, okay, we're doing these battery licensing ventures. Ford has a venture with CATL, which is a Chinese battery technology company. GM has one with a Korean company. So yeah, they're kind of growing this ecosystem so that the only way these cars are going to get cheaper is if the batteries are made here, the minerals are sourced here,
right.
Everything is in an ecosystem where all component parts of these vehicles are in this country. And so there's part of that going on. At the same time, they're delaying some of these investments. We're seeing that out of Ford. We're seeing that out of GM. We're seeing that out of Stellantis. And the concern is that the momentum to delay will be greater than the momentum to transition. So I think that's the fear.
And this theoretically will, at the very least, provide some. It will grease the wheels a little bit because there'll be, I guess, a sense of like we have more of the playing field to for us to make this transition.
But do they? I mean, Tesla is the number one seller in the United States on EVs. If we are in an environment with rapidly tightening emission standards, then Tesla's increase is going to be even greater. I mean, we don't know that Tesla is even a car company anymore. It's going to be like a technology company.
I mean, if you look at like there's I've seen some like polling on the brand, and it went from like, I don't know, it dropped like a lead balloon over the past couple of years.
But there are others waiting in the wings. I mean, Hyundai's won Car of the Year with their electric vehicle 2 years running. Volkswagen is coming out with a bus that's all electric, like a minibus, like the ID. I think it's called the ID Buzz. Rivian is growing in popularity. The big three does not have this field to themselves, and they better figure that out because we're not going to have internal combustion engines forever. We really aren't. Like, we are on the move. The future is electric. And if they don't figure it out, there won't be a U.S. auto industry, and whether there's a tariff or not.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to take a break and head into the fun half. And you are going to be part of the fun half.
As much as I human.
Yes. And to kick off that fun half, we're probably going to be talking about the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
So fun.
We'll talk FERC.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's big fun.
That's the way we do it around here. Huh?
You guys are off the skin of your off the top of your head. I can improv. I can vamp with you guys.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, great.
You've done it before.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a break and head into the fun half. And just a reminder, it is your support that makes this show possible. If you enjoy the show and you have the means, you can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. At the moment, I would prefer you give to that GoFundMe. And then, maybe in a month, if you're a little bit more liquid, then do it. But we'll put a link to that GoFundMe
already down there
for the family. Yep. It's already there. So check it out. Help those folks out. Also, the AM Quickie. Get your news in 5 minutes every day. It's free 3 times a week. Check it out. Really a useful tool for me anyways. And I think you will enjoy it as well. Emma.
On ESPN yesterday.
Celtics.
Yeah.
I know that pisses off David.
No. I mean, it
does.
I'm
a Sixers fan.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well. The Knicks did defeat the Sixers in a pretty physical first round.
Who else beat the Sixers? The Celtics in I think it was 1982, Game 7. I was there. So
you were there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Sixers
anyway,
in the Garden.
We'll see. Can Jason Tatum actually close it out this year in the finals? They'll make it to the finals, but or is he the Dak Prescott of the NBA? Many people are asking this question. Quarterback of the Cowboys. We talked about the NBA and NHL playoffs, including the hit on Marchand that was quite questionable, as well as the Nuggets taking 2 in Minnesota. Sorry, Matt. YouTube.com/ESPN show.
Matt.
Left Reckoning tonight, Pop Prescott. We're talking about the limitations of liberal institutional racism rhetoric and what to actually talk about. So check that out, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
All right, quick break, and we will see you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us
this? Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just want to degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflakes says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Cedar! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ Danner.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs that look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males,
psych, fuck them.
Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keep it at 100. Can't knock the hustle. Come on, fuck them. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy.
I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back. Sam Cedar, Emma Vigeland, and our special. I don't know if we've ever done this. Well, we've come close. I'm sure we must have.
No. When Dan was in
literally
studio,
near the dump in Secaucus. You know, you say you're near the Gowanus Canal. I'm near a different dump.
you are.
That's right.
So we're double dump broadcasting.
That's what I meant in terms of we've never done it before.
Maybe let's not brand it like that.
New Jersey is actually quite, I would say, known for its industrial waste.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately so.
From the Sopranos theme graphics.
I think Emma has a good point that the double dump broadcast probably not.
That was
what we're going
literally
for.
have the logo being made. You're saying I shouldn't?
I'm saying maybe.
I'd actually like to see what the logo looks like, and then we can.
It's about what you would expect. I think it's pretty much.
All right. Now I know this is like not exactly the funnest of fun topics, but this is important because this piece you did about FERC, just and you'll give us we'll do it briefly, but this era of the Biden era, at least looking at it narrowly in terms of domestically, is the first I feel like of my lifetime or at least, when I was out of elementary school. But maybe even then, where we have like industrial policy from the government, like a cohesive one. And the tariffs are part of that. But also this other story about like, our grid and, what's happening in terms of planning, permitting, and paying, as you write, like we're really seeing some industrial policy.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the persistent problems with decarbonizing, with creating a clean energy future, is literally connecting all of these renewable energy sources to the electric grid so that it can get to consumers. We're rapidly transitioning to electric vehicles. We're rapidly transitioning to, electric appliances and homes and things like that. But if you can't get the new cleaner energy onto the grid, you're just going to use the same dirty sources, and you won't get there. So that's why building transmission lines is so important. And the administration through the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission
let me just ask you one more question about that, just in the premise. Mm-hmm. Because as it stands now, I would imagine that the transmission lines that we need from the source to whatever sort of distributes it on the grid have to be a multiple of what we have now, because the amount of energy that comes maybe from like a solar farm here and a wind farm there and maybe hydro here are not necessarily going to be as concentrated as they were for, let's say, coal.
It's kind of two things. We need more connections, more grid, more power lines to get from those remote places where energy is produced, with places with a lot of wind, places with a lot of sun, to where energy is consumed. So if you're building a new solar array somewhere, they just might not have lines to get you out to a transformer. But perhaps even more important is that the existing lines we have can only carry a certain amount of energy. However, if you, and this is just classic with the way that climate and energy folks just talk themselves out of talking to real people, through something called reconductoring. So that I've fallen asleep when you tell me about reconductoring. All that literally means is upgrading the power lines, upgrading the conductors or the power lines. You can push much more power across the same lines.
So in other words, you would basically reconduct them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm joking. So what's involved in that? Is it changing the material or just the diameter of
upgrading the wires, using grid enhancing technologies, and allowing for more power? Because power lines are very leaky. You don't get all of the energy that goes through it actually from one place to the next. But with better technology, stronger lines, not only would you have less power loss, but more important, you would be able to put more throughput on those lines. So it's a combination of both, because the more that you can just do it by just reconductoring by through the lines, the fewer built environment kind of things that you have to build, right?
Well, again, all right. So let me just, do you know, is it a matter of changing the diameter of, like, is it copper? I mean, what do we use as these transmission lines, and what needs to change about them? I'm just looking in terms of like my commodity play that I'm going to do this afternoon in my day trade.
That was part of it, but I mean, I don't know the exact mix. Like if you're telling me what the line's made of, what I can tell you is that there are better lines than what we have out there now, which you can imagine some is 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years old.
Right.
And so if you upgrade that technology, if you upgrade those lines, you can get more through without having to build entirely new transmission lines. So it's a combination of both. And this rule that was put together on Monday at FERC actually deals with both sides of that. It deals with both sides of the equation. What it says is that it's two parts. One is planning and one is cost allocation. So what's planning? That means that power companies have to say, we are going to need this much power in 20 years. And it's going to give us this many benefits if we build X more or create X more capacity of transmission. It's going to create these benefits for us, and that makes it worthwhile for us to do. And right now, there isn't a lot of long-term planning that goes on from utilities. And so that's number one. And then number two is paying for it. So a lot of these things go through different regions, different states. One state's power company might say, I'm not going to pay for you to upgrade that other state's power lines. That doesn't affect me. And basically, there's this huge free rider problem when it comes down to the brass tacks of actually paying for what you need in transmission. And so there's no real, prior to Monday, there was no real equation for how you set out, okay, this state number one, you're going to pay this much. State number two, you're going to pay this much. And they set out a process now to deal with that cost allocation, which I'm told is even bigger of a problem than permitting. And it makes sense, right? Because like paying for it is the thing.
Right. And so I could be state number one over here, and state number two here, and I may need to do more work over here, but the benefit is going to happen here as well. And so the question is like, who pays for it? And then presumably that cost is passed on to the consumer to basically
Well, I mean, this is one problem with this is that the utilities don't want to spend the money, particularly on the upgrades, because upgrades are seen as the upgrades are seen as maintenance. They're not seen as capital expenditures. And you can pass through a capital expenditure to your ratepayers, but you can't pass a maintenance upgrade through to your ratepayers. So even though it's critical for them, like it would be much cheaper if they just upgraded the lines, right? Than having to build new things. But the incentives are towards building new things because that money I can make the ratepayers pay for.
Well, I have a good suggestion. I have a suggestion. Let's nationalize these entities and not worry about it anymore. Now, all of a sudden, you work for the U.S. government, do what we told you. You get the same salaries. It's just now we don't have shareholders. We don't have to worry about it. We'll be able to drop the rates for everybody. And we'll actually build a grid that's going to be durable, sustainable, and more efficient.
It seems to work for the Tennessee Valley Authority, right? So
no kidding.
We absolutely have to think about this investor-owned utility era that we're in, and whether they're going to put forward the kinds of upgrades and technical capabilities that we need to actually get to 100% renewable energy.
They're basically crying out and saying, we can't do it under the, I mean, this is a perfect example of, where private enterprise fails because there's no incentive for them. They're making their, whatever it is that they're regulated to make in terms of profit, 7-8%, whatever it is.
Well, one of the things they're saying is we can't pay for it. And so now we've set up a process that says, no, you can. Like, here's what it's going to cost. And if we're going to go forward, there's the permitting side, but there actually was some previous to this FERC meeting, there were some additions the Biden administration made, including with respect to reconductoring, where you wouldn't have to get a new environmental review to essentially upgrade the lines. So that's going to be helpful as well. Basically, the people that I've talked to are pretty happy about where this all landed. There was some question because there are 3 commissioners on FERC right now, and one is a Republican who didn't want to do anything, and the other was a climate hawk Democrat that really wanted to do a lot. And there was this guy, the chair, Willie Phillips, who like comes out of utilities. He worked for Pepco or with Pepco. And it was unclear which side he was going to go on. But according to what I've heard, the rule reflects more of the climate hawk side of the equation.
How often are these FERC commissioners appointed? How long are their terms? Do you know?
I believe they are 4 or 5 year terms. There were 2 that were just, there are 2 vacancies right now. One of them is because Joe Manchin decided not to give a hearing to the former chair. And so that guy had to leave the commission. This is why we had this rule was proposed 2 years ago, and we're only getting to it now, in part because they ditched the guy who wrote it, this guy Rich Glick, and they had to, basically get everybody up to speed. So there are 2 vacancies now, and Biden has named replacements, and one of them worked for Manchin. He was established.
Jesus.
Manchin. So it's good that we get this in now before that hits. Right. But that could be a problem with the implementation of this. They finalized the rule, but that doesn't mean they're gonna follow it and abide by it.
We got an IMer asking how it affects the privatized Texas grid.
Oh, good question.
That is a good question. These are still U.S. facilities.